Hi, I'm Rachel, and this is my 2025 MockReads TBR video for science fiction. Once again, I lied in my last video where I promised my next video would be an am reading video. I don't seem to be doing very well sometimes on my pre-planning, but this would be the type of video I figured I could get out right now, because as this is posting on my birthday, I am not here in my condo. Hopefully I am on the seas for a cruise, but I didn't want to leave you hanging all this time. I figured I'd pop in and say hello. And I've also been a little bit behind on making these MockReads videos anyway, so time to, rectify that as well. So my MockReads lists are a response to the Goodreads Choice Awards doing away with the write-in option round now several years ago. Now we haven't been able to write in options for the Goodreads Choice Awards in a while, but I like reading a little bit of front list, or encouraging myself to read a little bit of front list, but I don't always jive with the buzziest titles, so not everything I'm going to read that was published in 2025 is going to make it into the Goodreads Choice Awards. But I want to make sure that I read at least a little bit of 2025 releases, because I am, predominantly a backlist girly. And so I have a few genres I pick from every year, and in October I'll do a ranking video right before the actual Goodreads Choice Awards. A few months ago I did a video for historical fiction, and now I'm going into science fiction. I have a couple of reasons for that. First of all, I'm taking a 2025 science fiction release onto the cruise with me, and it is All the Water in the World by Eiren Cafall, which was on my anticipated releases of the year list. And I know it's a little ironic, or maybe even macabre, to take something about a drowned Manhattan onto a cruise, almost like I'm prepping for the future. Well, if the cruising lifestyle would continue into, the apocalypse, which I highly doubt. But anyway, this story was compared to Station 11, and I think there was a bit of emphasis on preserving culture, which is really, I think, what I fell for pretty hard in Station 11, so I'm pretty hopeful for this one. I've also read another science fiction book that technically fits the bill as a MockReads contender, because I am, again, mirroring GCA. Private Rights by Julia Armfield actually came out in December 2024, but the GCA schedule runs from November to November, so it's going to count for this year. And alas, I didn't like this book very much. It's kind of a King Lear retelling with the sisters in, once again, a post-apocalyptic or slowly growing post-apocalyptic London. And it didn't work for me. I remember liking Armfield's previous book, but I think that's because the focus was so narrow that I could just go with the feel of it and the vibes of it and the characterization. But in this book, she's not just tackling King Lear and the daughters. She's also tackling the idea of, climate change and society that is, changing along with it. And I feel like, her writing was too narrow, and I didn't buy the world building of it. And if we're taking that step back and broadening the lens, so this was a little too pie in the sky for me. I'm a little concerned in the same vein about the next book, The Book of Records by Madeleine Thien. This book, I think it kind of segues from a previous book of hers that I read, although I kind of only vaguely remember it, and it goes into sort of this philosophical meta space, and it's a secondary world, basically, and what I am intrigued by is that there are some Jewish influence in it, there's a Holocaust influence, and also a character who is based off of Baruch Spinoza, who was a famous Jewish-born philosopher. But I am a little worried that it's going to be a little just too philosophical and weavy and pie in the sky, but I wanted to put it on the list anyway. Slightly future Rachel back here again, because I wanted to give another go at summarizing this next book, IDOLFIRE by Grace Curtis. This is science fantasy, so there's a little bit of contention about calling it science fiction in the first place. I think one of the reasons might be because her last book was much more in the science fiction genre. But there maybe is an argument, too, about this book as well being on the sciencier side of fantasy, because it is a road trip between two people, I think, at the ends of the world, of this secondary world. But the backstory is that the fall of a Rome-like empire informs, the broader picture, And I think there's ruminations on what caused the fall, which might be a bit like Foundation by Isaac Asimov, which also is about the fall of Rome and is science fiction. But this one also has some gods and I think biblical influence as well. So yeah, we are, teetering on the line. But for me, I think this sounds really fascinating, and I would like to read this book and possibly her earlier book as well. And finally, well, this book is coming out in November, but that still counts. I want to read Lightbreakers by Aja Gabel. I read another one of Aja Gabel's books in the past, which I really enjoyed. It was straight up literary fiction about a string quartet. This one moves into science fiction, where we are following another, band of characters. One of them is a quantum physicist who gets a call from an eccentric billionaire asking him to participate in a clandestine project, which I think will move us into that science fiction space. So I'm intrigued to go back to this author. I really liked what she did with her last book, so, I want to give her another go. And that about covers it for me now. I will leave the Goodreads links for all of the books mentioned and listed down below, as well as my review for Private Rites and reviews for the other books that I, somewhat mentioned here. And additionally, I will link to my last MockReads video about 2025 historical fiction releases that caught my fancy and I am slowly moving into. We only have so much time after all until October comes up, and I'll want to, rank my books. So I hope you're all doing well with your reading, your whatever balance you like between front list and back list, and enjoying your vacation reads if you're going on vacation, maybe even if they're a little bit macabre. And now I'll be back on this channel shortly after I get back from the cruise to do an Am Reading Cruise Edition, so stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, thanks so much for watching, everyone. I'll see you next time.